Hello, good evening. Welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Let's now settle for the details. And the African Development Bank is projecting an inflation of 45% for Ghana in 2023. This will be the highest in West Africa. Here is more.
The forecast is coming on the back of a 4-month increase in inflation to 43.1% in July. In its latest West Africa Economic Outlook report, the AFDB puts the average inflation in Ghana in 2023 at 38%. Inflation is, however, expected to reduce sharply to about 17% in 2024. The country's high inflation has largely been driven by food and non-alcoholic beverages division, averaging about 50% this year. The AFDB, however, warned that a further hike in the Bank of Ghana's policy rate may do more harm than good to growth prospects. Furthermore, rate hikes might not yield the expected result of strengthening the local currency by attracting more capital inflows due to global risk aversion. In West Africa, Benin and Niger will record the lowest inflation of about 3% respectively.
All right, so let's bring in the Ghana Statistical Service and engage their perspective on this prediction by the African Development Bank. Joining us via Zoom is the head of price statistics at the Ghana Statistical Service, Foster Jaho, for more. Pleasure, you could join me, Foster, on Prime Business. First off, just yesterday, you announced basically an inflation rate of 43.1%, and now African Development Bank is saying that we are likely to see the rate go up further to 45% by the end of the year. Really, should we be worried?
Thank you. I think, yes, if that is the case, yes, we can say we should worry. But however, I come from a different standpoint. I come from the point that because we are entering the harvest season, if indeed production increases, then we are likely to go further down than what the predicted will be like. We might come probably within the 30s, if not lower. And so if there's no any tax policy hikes in petroleum prices, then I don't think we'll get to that much. We may go up, but it will come down lower than what they are predicting.
I know the Statistical Service doesn't do predictions and projections, but realistically, are we likely to get there looking at the current rate of inflation and how food prices basically is driving inflation?
Yeah, so as I said, it is true that if you look at the month-on-month and the year-on-year, we are increasing. But as I said, the good news is that we are not entering the harvest season. And so if we are able to chalk bumper harvest, enough tomatoes, enough rice, enough maize, enough vegetables, then those food items will push the inflation down. Unless, of course, there's a reversal in some other fiscal policies like increases in taxes, increase in petroleum prices. Otherwise, with a bumper harvest, which we are all expecting because of the rains that we've had, then certainly we should be coming down, if not drastically.
And let's look at the significance of the drop we are likely to see when we finally get to the bumper harvest.
You see, the challenge has always been the fact that once you are maybe looking at bumper harvest, then they come with a tax policy. Then they come with maybe the forest market becomes unstable. That puts your prediction up the air. And that's how come we always shy away from predicting, because we don't have those other macroeconomic variables in our hand. But otherwise, if indeed we hold taxes, we hold petroleum prices increases, looking at what we expect from the agricultural side, then we could drop in the range of 8 to 10 by the end of the year.
That will certainly be a good news for us. But from your point of view, Mr. Jaho, what must be the policy direction to control inflation, especially when players in the agri sector are also predicting higher rates in the coming months?
So I think there are two things we need to look at. One, for agricultural produce, we cannot increase them immediately. This is a long term. But then we should be able to work on the distribution. So we look at where they are produced more, and then put in policies to be able to move them to the other centers. You know, somewhere in December last year, the Minister of Agri did something by bringing some food to Accra. We should also try and send them to other areas like we see in Northeast, where prices of food items are soaring. And so we should be able to move and do a fair distribution to be able to balance the equation. Then two, even as we're looking at the short term, we should put in policies that will increase production when we get next year. Otherwise, you and I will come back to the same table doing the same discussion. And so we should look at giving the farmers some subsidies, fertilizers, soft loans, and then help them to be able to increase their acreage of cultivation.
All right, we are grateful. Head of Price Statistics, Foster Jaho, speaking to us there on the back of the prediction the African Development Bank is making. We shall, of course, keep our eyes on that and, of course, update you in our subsequent bulletins. A while longer on inflation-related stories, government's quest to bring down inflation has been questioned after it continued to heighten taxes. According to economist Professor Charles Aka, the rising inflation could be blamed on fiscal policy measures being undertaken by government. He was speaking at a program organized by the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research to review the media budget.
Ghana are high, and in the environment of high prices, we increase government fiscal policy is neutral. Basically, we have avoided the days of price control. We have taken away subsidies on utilities, electricity, fuel, and then we add taxes in the same environment. Totally awkward. In other countries, when inflation is even external and is coming from the global market, fiscal policies absorb. If you will not control prices, essential prices like food and gas and utility and petrol, you don't add taxes on them in that environment.
And a cross-section of Ghanaians have expressed their displeasure about the high cost of living in the country. Their concerns follow the rise in inflation rate to 43.1% for the month of July. Joy Business hit the streets to gauge the reactions of citizens and what they make of the current inflationary trends and how that is affecting their lives. Here are what some of them had to say.
It's too high, you understand? The increment of prices and goods and services is really bad, and especially most of the times these things happen when there's an importation. You understand? The businessmen and the investors, when they try to import goods and services from outside, and there's a lot of taxes on them. You feel me? Yeah. So the government tried to put a lot of taxes on them, and when it happens like that, with the consumers, it's really affected us. Yeah. So some of the products, something like bread, something like even food to eat. Currently, right now, if you're having 20 cedis, trust me, you are not going to get a food that is going to satisfy you. You understand? Unless you get like 50 cedis, that is when you're going to feel. You understand? And right now, the formation for this economy is 001. You understand? Yeah, so that means in the morning you're not going to eat, in the afternoon you're not going to eat, then in the evening you find something to eat.
The way things have gone high so far, it has really destroyed or damaged our economy. So I feel like if things can go a little bit down, it also help us and it also creates more jobs, because now even if you can't even get a 200 job again or a 300 job at the end of the month, and now things have gone high, we can't even rent even a single room like we used to do before. So everything has gone high to the point that the insecurities keeps on adding.
Because of the inflation now, even people are not patronizing our business. We find it very, very difficult to get our daily sales. The passengers are not coming because they used to join trotro rather than the taxi. Because the taxi is very expensive than the trotro. So they used to join the trotro more than the taxi. So I find it things very, very, very difficult now.
Over the world now, you see, it is not Ghana alone. You see, the inflation, everything, rate and everything is within the whole world. It's not within Ghana, our motherland alone. You see, so it is the hand of God. You see, I mean, big Gakal, you see, Bible tells us that, days will come, times will come, and things will change. And we shall see certain things. You see, and then when we started seeing all these things, we have to know that the time is coming to an end.
Away from inflation-related stories, the International Monetary Fund has maintained that Bank of Ghana's current financial position will not affect monetary policy operations and mandate. This was captured in an update issued by the IMF on Ghana's program with the fund. There is more in the following report.
IMF, in its latest question and answer on Ghana's program, noted that despite Bank of Ghana's challenging financial position, this will not prevent the central bank from fulfilling its policy mandate and ensuring that inflation rate gradually returns to its 8% target. The IMF adds that the central bank's income is expected to be sufficient to cover monetary policy operational costs. The fund in the question and answers also disclosed that the central bank's net equity is expected to improve significantly over time and eventually return to positive territory. It also admitted that the Bank of Ghana's heavy participation in the debt exchange program did contribute to its negative equity. On domestic debt exchange program, the IMF revealed that finalization of the second round of the exchange, that is the cocoa bills, domestic dollar bond and pension funds, should finally bring an end to the process when it comes to the domestic debts. However, on the status of the external debts, the IMF revealed that the next step is the Official Creditor Committee for Ghana under the G20 Common Framework to reach agreements with the authorities on the specific modalities of how official creditors intend to deliver debt relief consistent with fund program parameters.
Now, oil marketing firm Star Oil has been ranked among the top 3 firms in the industry. This is based on analysis by the National Petroleum Authority on product sales ending April this year. There is more in this report. The top 3 spots Joy Business understands has been traditionally held by GOIL, Shell and Total Energies. However, it appears that is changing. National Petroleum Authority data on products sold by the over 100 oil marketing firms showed that there has been some shift in the market. GOIL has the top spot in the country with a market share of 18.50%. It is followed by Shell, now Vivo, with 8.51% of the market. New entrants to the top 3, Star Oil has 8.12%. Total Energies now occupies the 4th spot with a market share of 8.01%. It is followed by Zen Petroleum. Puma occupies the 6th position. For some industry analysts, they are linking the Star Oil strong pickup to its pricing strategy over the past few months. In some cases, Star Oil has sold its products at the pumps significantly lower than its peers in the country. The new data from the National Petroleum Authority shows that GOIL, Shell, Star Oil, Total and Zen now make up the top 5 oil marketing companies. Chief Executive of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Kwesi Agyemang-Busia, is advocating energy-efficient vehicles that will mitigate the impact of fossil fuels on the environment. Speaking at the mid-year review conference in Sunyani, Mr. Busia said such vehicles would complement efforts towards the promotion of a sustainable green future. Precious Semevo has more.
2023 DVLA's mid-year review conference in Sunyani themed delivering quality service through service optimization, a panacea to consolidating our gains, is to assess performance so far and assess the implementation of issues from the previous year. The board chairman, Frank Davis, in his remarks, called on officers of the authority to develop a mindset that will make them empathize with the needs of clients and seek ways to exceed their expectations.
Whilst we have made commendable achievements in streamlining services and reducing processing times, there are still challenges such as delays in printing driving licenses, attitudinal issues on the part of some staff, and the increasing cases of indiscipline and bad behavior, amongst many others. I wish to reiterate the board's firm resolve not to shield anyone who falls short of laid down procedures or sins against the authorities' disciplinary code.
Bono Regional Minister Justina Osubanahene appealed for a change in the region's vehicular number.
The Eswa Brong Ahafo region has given birth to 3 regions. Our number plates still bear the label Brong Ahafo, denoted by BA. My humble plea is that in the coming year 2024, you may want to consider the issuance of a new plate that distinctly reflects the Bono region, perhaps with the code BR and BS.
Chief Executive of DVLA, Kwesi Agyemang-Busia, said the authority is committed to a digital transformation that will bring convenient transactions to drivers and vehicle owners and make the authority a global customer-centric institution. Mr. Buzia, however, advocated for energy-efficient vehicles that will mitigate the impact of fossil fuels on the environment.
Advocating for the adoption of electric vehicles will herald a new dawn of clean and green transportation in Ghana. By promoting the use of energy-efficient vehicles, we should drive towards mitigating the impact of fossil fuels on our health and the environment at large. When managed properly, our initiatives and innovations will resonate far beyond our borders and our respective tenure, shaping a greener, more sustainable future for generations to come. A new era of efficiency beckons as we embrace process automation. From registration to license renewals, our streamlined processes will minimize waiting times and maximize our customer satisfaction.
The board chairman used the occasion to launch the 25th anniversary celebration of DVLA, expected to climax in August 2024. Precious Semevo, Joy News, Sunyai.
You're still watching Prime Business. The Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, NIT, Dr. John Ofori-Tinkrang, has indicated that it has recorded organic growth in contributions in the past month. The trust currently has 1.9 million active contributors. According to Dr. Ofori-Tinkrang, there is the need for more contributors to join the trust, especially those in the informal sector, to safeguard their future.
Look at the growth rate of even our contributors when you adjust it even for inflation. We are seeing organic growth. We have seen an uptick in the number of people that are joining the scheme. Our active contributor base has grown from some 1.4 or so million a few years ago to now we are now looking at about 1.9 million active contributors. And those are just people who are giving us money regularly. But there are people who are contributing who, for one reason or the other, may not be giving us money regularly. So in terms of the number of people that are actually on our database, I think we have about some 4 odd million people, but the active contributors are about 1.9 million. But this number is on the uptick, and especially we are seeing an uptick in the self-employed persons who now know that they too can join the SNIT scheme to have a secure future.
The Chamber of Telecommunications is advocating for the translation of e-government services into local languages to enable women in rural communities access and benefit from the opportunities available through these services. Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, made this call at a knowledge forum to launch GSMA's report on inclusive e-government services in Ghana. There is more in this report. The report, Inclusive E-Government Services in Ghana, Enhancing Women's Access and Usage, examines women's access to digital government services via mobile platforms for business in Ghana. The findings reveal that Ghanaian women face challenges in accessing these services due to affordability issues, low awareness, and inadequate digital skills. Reacting to this, the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunication, Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, indicated that translating e-government services into local languages could enhance usability for women in rural areas to navigate this digital landscape.
And then for me, another fundamental thing in all of this is that in terms of the language that we use for most of these e-services, they are still in English, you know. And so when you have my grandmother, for example, in Chama, for example, who cannot read English, and then you want to, because of the issues of cost as well, she has a feature phone. How is she going to do the USSD things? We need to find a way in which our technology people would be able to provide these services in their local language, not even just in text, but in video, in audio, and all of that, so that if my grandmother wants to buy or wants to sell something, he can speak to the device, and then the device will be able to tell it's actually her from her voice, from her face, and all of that.
He also indicated that although efforts are being made to bridge gender gaps in the digital landscape, a lot of work still needs to be done.
There's been quite some progress that has been made so far as the gender gap is concerned. And so if you look into the report, there are still some cultural challenges that exist. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen. And that's where it is important that government has, there's an alignment between the various policies that we have. So you see government pushing a lot of this, digitization, government pushing a lot of these digital services. It's good that now the Cybersecurity Authority has come. Very recently, you got about 400 of these lenders being arrested and all of that. We need to ensure that a lot of trust will be built, in these systems.
Senior Insight Manager at GMSA, Nigham Shahid, shared some of the findings identified in the report.
So the first one is to increase awareness of e-government services. The second is to boost women's literacy and basic digital skills. The third is to increase knowledge of how to use e-government services. The fourth, address affordability barriers. The fifth, enhance security against online fraud. The sixth, address the issue of poor network coverage or slow connection. Seventh, provide end-to-end services to make the digital process more appealing. And eighth, reduce downtime of e-government platforms and lack of interactive or user-friendly interface.
The study was conducted over a 6-month period in the Greater Accra, Ashanti, northern regions of Ghana. Esther Nkrume's report read to you. Thanks so much for watching Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We've got international business for you, after which Prime Sports is next to With Basbao. Do enjoy. Bye.
Today.